The young billionaire is about to be sentenced in court, but beggar twin girls come running in and shout, "He's innocent, we have the proof." And what they show leaves the judge in shock. Asher. Donovan straightened his tie for the third time in 5 minutes. The bathroom mirror reflected a 40-year-old man who had achieved everything through hard work. Brown hair starting to show a few grey strands at the temples, blue eyes that conveyed seriousness and confidence. Today would be different. Today he would sign the biggest contract of his career. "Honey, are you nervous?" Claire appeared at the door, gorgeous as always. Her blonde hair fell perfectly over her shoulders, and that smile which had won his heart 15 years ago still made it skip a beat. "A little," Asher admitted, turning to face her. "It's a lot of responsibility." Claire approached and gently fixed his tie. "You were born for this. The Horizon Complex is going to be your biggest success." Asher smiled. Claire always knew what to say. She always supported him. From his early years as a newly graduated civil engineer until now, running his own construction company, she had been by his side in every victory and every challenge. 500 housing units, he murmured, more to himself. 5,000 people who will have a decent home. "And you're going to make that happen," Claire said, kissing his cheek. "Now go, or you'll be late." The Donovan and Associates office was on the 12th floor of a building in the city center. Asher always liked to arrive early before the employees, to have a few minutes of silence to plan his day. But today, when the elevator doors opened, he found Elijah already waiting at reception. "Man, you've beaten my punctuality record," Asher laughed, greeting his best friend. Elijah Crane was his opposite in many ways. Where Asher was serious, Elijah was laid back. Where Asher preferred to analyze every detail, Elijah relied on intuition. But this difference complemented them perfectly. They had been friends since college and business partners for 8 years. "I couldn't sleep well," Elijah confessed, running his hand through his dark hair. "I keep thinking about how big this opportunity is. Nervous too. Excited." Elijah grinned in that contagious way he had. "We're going to make history, brother. A public project of this magnitude. The city trusts us completely." They entered Asher's office, which had a view of the entire city. From that height, they could see some of the projects they had already built together. Residential buildings, a shopping center, 2 schools. But nothing compared to what they were about to start. "Did you bring the final contracts?" Asher asked, sitting behind the desk. "All here." Elijah placed a black folder on the desk. "The city's attorney reviewed everything yesterday. It's perfect." Asher opened the folder and began flipping through the documents. There were many pages full of technical terms and legal clauses. His name appeared as the lead engineer, his company as the main contractor. The contract amount was highlighted in bold, $52 million. "Man," he murmured, still processing the figure. "It's a lot of money," Elijah agreed, sitting in the chair in front of the desk. "But it's also a huge responsibility. 500 families waiting for a home." As he read, Asher thought of the stories he knew, entire families living in tiny apartments, paying outrageous rents, honest people who worked hard but couldn't afford to buy their own place. The Horizon Complex would change that. 2- and 3-bedroom apartments, each with a balcony, a full recreation area, a school, and a health clinic within the development. "Is the land already cleared?" he asked. "Since last week. We started the cleanup on Monday." Asher pictured the empty lot turning into an entire neighborhood. Children playing on the playgrounds, families barbecuing on weekends, people going to work in the morning knowing they had a real home to return to. "We're building more than houses," he said, lifting his eyes from the papers. "We're building a future." Elijah smiled. "Exactly. That's why they picked us, because they know we do more than just meet a contract. We care." And it was true. Since they opened the company, they had always treated every project as though it were for themselves. Top quality materials, flawless finishes, deadlines met religiously. That's why they had the reputation they did. The phone rang. Asher answered. "Donovan and Associates." "Mr. Donovan, this is Janet from the mayor's office. He'd like to know if you can come by to sign the contract this morning at 11 o'clock. Asher looked at his watch. It was 9:30. "Sure, Janet. We'll be there." He hung up and turned to Elijah. Showtime. City Hall was only about 10 minutes from the office. On the way, Elijah kept talking about project details. The schedule is tight but feasible. 18 months to deliver everything. If we start strong, we can even get some stages ahead of time. How about the crew? I've already selected the best. Marcos will lead the structural part, Sandra will handle finishes, and Roberto coordinates all electrical and plumbing. Asher nodded. He had known them for years, competent and reliable professionals. They arrived at City Hall and were greeted by Janet, a friendly woman of about 60 who had worked there for decades. "The mayor is finishing a meeting. Just a few minutes," she said, offering them coffee. Asher took the opportunity to review the contracts one more time. Everything seemed in order. Values, deadlines, technical specifications. His signature would turn those papers into reality. "Gentlemen, you may come in," Janet called. The mayor's office was large and elegant. William Harrison was about 55, gray hair, a firm handshake. He was in his second term and had a reputation for being efficient and honest. "Asher, it's a pleasure to see you again," Harrison smiled. "And Elijah, of course. How are you?" "Very well, Mr. Mayor. Looking forward to getting started," Asher replied. "I can imagine this project is extremely important for our city. It will benefit many families." They sat around a conference table. Harrison had a copy of the contracts in front of him. "Any questions about the terms?" he asked. "No, everything's very clear," Asher said. "We've done smaller projects with City Hall before, so we're familiar with the procedures." "Great. Then let's make it official." Harrison signed first, using an elegant gold pen. Then he passed the documents to Asher. That moment felt suspended in time. The pen in his hand, the contract on the table, $52 million and 500 families depending on that signature. Asher signed each page carefully, his handwriting firm and clear, just as he always did. When he finished, Harrison stood and extended his hand. "Congratulations, Asher. I'm sure you'll do an outstanding job." "We won't let you down," Asher promised. They left City Hall with a copy of the contracts and a sense of contained euphoria. It was the biggest project of their careers, but they also knew the hard work was just beginning. "I need to call Claire," Asher said in the car. "She's going to flip out with happiness. And I'll call our team. Monday, we start full throttle." When they arrived at the office, Elijah went straight to his room. Asher spent a few minutes gazing out the window, imagining what things would be like 18 months from now. The Horizon complex finished, the first families moving in, the satisfaction of having made a difference in so many lives. The phone rang, bringing him out of his daydream. "Did you get it?" It was Claire, sounding anxious. "We got it. It's signed." "Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you." Asher smiled. "Now comes the work. A lot of work. You can handle it. You both can. I have a meeting at 2, so I have to go. I love you." "Love you too." After hanging up, Asher returned to the contracts. He wanted to review every clause again, understand all the details. That was how he worked. Meticulous, careful, always seeking perfection. A few minutes later, Elijah appeared at the door. "Dude, I just talked to the cement supplier. They can start deliveries on Monday." "Perfect. And the other materials?" "All arranged." "Oh, and there are some documents here I need you to sign for the release of the first portion of the funds." Elijah placed a few papers on the desk. Asher skimmed them quickly. They looked like standard forms for releasing resources. "Everything's in order. Just needs your signature," Elijah said. Asher grabbed the pen. He trusted his friend completely. 8 years in partnership, hundreds of contracts, and they'd never had a single problem. Elijah took good care of finances and bureaucracy, leaving Asher free to focus on engineering and execution. He signed the documents without hesitation. "Done. When will the money come in?" "By Friday. Then we can start the heavy purchases." The rest of the afternoon flew by. Calls to suppliers, a meeting with the technical team, reviewing the first sketches of the construction site. When Asher finally left the office, it was already past 7 at night. Claire was waiting for him at home with a special dinner. Candles on the table, red wine, even background music. "We're celebrating," she said, beaming. Over dinner, They talked about the project. Claire asked smart questions about the schedule and technical challenges. She had always taken an interest in his work, even though it wasn't her field. "It's going to be tough," Asher admitted. 18 months is very little time for a project that big. But you two are the best. If anyone can pull it off, it's you guys. After dinner, they stayed on the back porch, looking up at the stars. Their home was in a quiet residential neighborhood, away from downtown noise. Asher loved those peaceful moments. "Do you know what makes me happiest?" he said to Claire. "It's not just the money or the prestige. It's knowing that we're going to change so many people's lives." Claire held his hand. "That's why I love you. You always think of others." On Monday, the Horizon Complex construction site was buzzing. Trucks arriving, equipment being unloaded, workers marking the ground. Asher arrived at 7 in the morning and observed all the hustle. Marcos, the structural engineer, approached with a clipboard in hand. "Boss, should we start the foundation for the first block today?" "Go ahead. How are the materials?" "Arriving on schedule. The first cement delivery is already here." Asher nodded, but something bothered him. The cement looked different from what they usually used, lighter in color, odd texture. "Marcos, what brand is this?" "Oh, Elijah changed the supplier. Said he got a better price without losing quality." Asher frowned but said nothing. Elijah had always been good at negotiating. If he said it was good quality, it must be. Throughout the day, other materials arrived. Steel for the structures that looked thinner than usual. Bricks that crumbled easily. Sand with visible impurities. By late afternoon, Asher looked for Elijah in the office. "Dude, I visited the site today. Some materials worry me." Elijah didn't even raise his eyes from the computer. "Relax, brother. It's all within technical specs. I just got better prices." "Are you sure? The cement looked strange." "Are you sure?" "The cement looked strange. I checked everything personally. It's a new brand on the market, but the quality is guaranteed." Asher was still a bit uneasy, but decided to trust. Elijah had never let him down before. In the following weeks, the construction advanced quickly. Foundations laid, structures rising, first finishing touches being initiated. Everything was on schedule, yet Asher noticed small details that bothered him. Premature cracks in some walls, pipes leaking during tests, window frames that didn't fit perfectly. Whenever he asked questions, the answer was always the same. Normal issues on any construction site, nothing that couldn't be fixed. One night, driving home late from the site, Asher stopped at a red light and saw a homeless man begging. The man looked about 50, wearing dirty clothes, a tired expression. Asher rolled the window down and handed him some coins. "Thank you, sir. God bless you." "You're welcome. Things will get better." The man smiled. "I heard they're building some affordable housing nearby. I hope it's true." "It is true. It'll be ready in a few months. It'd be a dream to have a little place of my own." Asher drove on, thinking about that man, and about all the other people awaiting the Horizon Complex. He couldn't fail them. He arrived home and found Claire watching television in the living room. "How was your day?" she asked, snuggling against him on the couch. "Busy, but we're still on track." "I'm so proud of you, of the work you're doing." Asher kissed the top of her head. "We're building more than houses, Claire. We're building a future." And he truly believed it. Even with his small worries about materials, even with the pressure of deadlines, he knew they were doing something important. 500 families would have a home. Children would grow up with dignity. People like that man at the traffic light would have a new chance. That was why it was all worth it. What Asher didn't know was that at that very moment, in discrete areas spread throughout the construction site, questionable materials were still being used, and that all his trust, all his good faith, was being exploited in a way he could never have imagined. Asher woke to the insistent sound of the doorbell. It was 6 in the morning on a Tuesday, and Claire was still asleep beside him. Who could it be at this hour? He went downstairs in his pajamas and robe, startled by the urgent knocking. When he opened the door, he found 2 men in dark suits and a woman in a navy blue blazer. "Mr. Asher Donovan?" asked the taller man, flashing an ID badge. "I'm Detective Morrison. This is Detective Santos, and this is an accountant from the controller's office." Asher's stomach sank. What happened? We need you to come with us to give a statement regarding irregularities in the Horizon Complex project. Irregularities? Asher felt the world tilt. What kind of irregularities? Mr. Donovan, you're being accused of misappropriating public funds. Amounts totaling $8.5 million. The words echoed like a punch to the gut. $8.5 million. It was impossible. Completely impossible. There must be a mistake, Asher said, his voice shaky. I would never... Sir, can you get dressed? We have an arrest warrant. Arrest warrant. The word seemed unreal. Asher Donovan, respected engineer, family man, honest man, being arrested for corruption. Can I call my wife? Sure, but make it quick. Asher climbed the stairs on unsteady legs. Claire was awake, sitting on the bed, eyes wide. Honey, what's going on? Who are those people? Claire. Asher sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling. The controller's office is accusing me of embezzling funds from the project. They came to arrest me. Claire's face turned white. What? That's crazy. You'd never do anything like that. I know, but they have a warrant. I have to go with them. Claire jumped up and hugged him tightly. Honey, you're a good man. We'll get through this. I'll call the best lawyer I can find. And Elijah. I need to warn Elijah. I'll call him right now. It's going to be all right. You'll see. Asher dressed quickly, still trying to process what was happening. $8.5 million. Where had they gotten that number? He knew every cent that went in and out of the project. When he went down, the detectives were waiting with professional patience. Ready? Morrison asked. I need to call my business partner. You can call on the way. They left the house under the curious gaze of the neighbors. Asher had never felt so ashamed in his life. He got into the back of the squad car like a common criminal. On the way, his hands shaking, he called Elijah. Brother, where are you? I tried calling you 3 times. Elijah answered, sounding worried. Elijah, I'm being arrested. The controller's office is accusing me of diverting funds from the Horizon project. Silence on the other end. Elijah. Dude, this is insane. What money? You never stole anything. They're talking about $8.5 million. $8 million. Elijah's voice sounded genuinely shocked. Where'd they get that figure? I don't know. I have no idea. Listen, I'm going to investigate. Trust me. I'll find out what's going on. Somebody's setting you up. Asher felt slightly better hearing his friend's voice. Thanks, brother. I need you now. You've always had me. I'll fix this. The police station was a grey, depressing building. Asher was booked like any criminal. Fingerprints, front and profile photos, initial questioning. Mr. Donovan, Detective Santos said, sitting across from him in a small room without windows. Let's make things easier. We know there were suspicious transfers from project accounts to personal accounts. What personal accounts? I don't have direct access to the project money. Everything goes through the company's accounting. We have records of withdrawals in your name. That's impossible. The detective opened a folder and showed him documents. Asher recognized his signature on forms he had never seen in his life. This isn't my handwriting, he said, studying the papers. It's your signature, Mr. Donovan. And it was perfectly identical. But Asher was absolutely certain he had never signed those documents. Someone forged my signature. Or you're lying. The interrogation lasted 3 hours. Questions about transfers, bank accounts, personal expenses. Asher answered everything truthfully, but he could see in the detective's eyes that they didn't believe him. When they finally led him to a cell, Asher felt lost. How had his life turned upside down in just a few hours? The cell was small and smelled of cheap disinfectant. 2 other detainees lay sleeping on iron bunks. Asher sat on the floor, leaning his head against the cold wall. He thought of Claire, probably frantic trying to find a lawyer. He thought of the Horizon complex, of the 500 families waiting for those homes. He thought of his reputation, built over 20 years, being destroyed in a single morning. At 2 in the afternoon, a guard came to get him. Visitor. Claire was in the visiting room, her eyes red from crying. She stood up when she saw him and ran to hug him. Honey, how are you holding up? Confused? Scared? I don't understand any of this. They sat at a small white plastic table. Claire held his hands. I got a lawyer, Robert Klein. He's expensive, but he's the best defense attorney in town. Claire, I didn't do anything. You believe me, right? Her eyes filled with tears. Of course I believe you. You'd never do such a thing. Everyone who knows you knows that. What about Elijah? He's beside himself. He spent the whole morning at the office reviewing all the financial documents. He said he's going to find out who set you up. Asher felt a surge of relief. Elijah had been his best friend for over 15 years. If anyone could help him, it was him. Did he find anything? Not yet, but he promised he'd get the proof of your innocence. The visit lasted only 30 minutes. When Claire left, Asher returned to the cell feeling a bit stronger. He had people who believed in him, people who would fight for his freedom. The next night, Elijah came to see him. He looked tired and worried. Dude, I've been through everything, every document, every transfer, every signature. And it's more complicated than we thought. Someone got access to your personal data, your signature pattern, the company's accounts. Asher frowned. Someone on the inside. Has to be. Only someone very close would have that information. The idea that an employee, someone he trusted, could do that was devastating. Do you suspect anyone? Elijah hesitated. I don't want to accuse anyone yet, but I'm investigating. I'll find out who it was, brother. Trust me. I trust you. You're the only person in the world I trust completely. Elijah lowered his eyes. I'll get you out of here. I promise. When visiting hours ended, Asher returned to his cell filled with a mix of hope and despair. Hope because he knew Elijah would move heaven and earth to help him. Despair because every hour in jail was another hour of public humiliation. The media had already picked up the story. Respected engineer accused of corruption, multi-million-dollar embezzlement in housing project. The hidden face of the Horizon complex. His photo was splashed everywhere. Not the professional one from the company website, but the mugshot. Disheveled hair, lost look, inmate number on his chest. On the third day of detention, the lawyer got a custody hearing. Asher was brought to court in handcuffs, wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, onlookers, some people Asher recognized as former clients. Claire was in the front row with Elijah. The judge was a man around 60, grey hair, a stern expression. Mr. Donovan, you stand accused of misappropriating public funds in the amount of $8,500,000. How do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honor. The prosecution has presented substantial evidence against the defendant, said the prosecutor, a young man in glasses. Signatures on transfer documents, suspicious bank transactions, discrepancies between purchased materials and those actually used on the construction site. Klein, Asher's lawyer, Aaron rose. Your Honor, my client is a respected engineer with a 20-year spotless career. The evidence presented is circumstantial and may have other explanations. The judge studied the documents for a few endless minutes. Given the seriousness of the charges and the amount involved, I deny the request for provisional release. The defendant will remain in preventive custody until trial. Asher felt his world collapse. More time in prison, more humiliation, more suffering for Claire. As he was led back to the cells, he passed by Claire and Elijah in the hall. She cried silently, and he stood with clenched fists, face tense with anger. Calm down, honey, Asher heard Elijah say to Claire. We'll get him out of there, I promise. That night, lying on the hard bunk in his cell, Asher realized how naive he had been. He had always believed honesty and hard work were enough, that doing the right thing would protect him. Now he was learning the world was more complicated, that some people were willing to destroy innocent lives for money, that even an honest man could be turned into a criminal by others. But there was one thing he was sure of. Claire and Elijah were on his side. They knew the truth. They would fight for him. They were the only people in the world he could still trust completely. What Asher didn't know, as he tried to sleep in that cold, noisy cell, was that his trust was once again being betrayed. That the two most important people in his life were exactly those who had orchestrated his downfall. And that, at that very moment, on the other side of the city, they were celebrating the success of their cruel plan together. Maya woke up with her stomach rumbling. Next to her, Under the bank's abandoned awning, Mel was still asleep, curled up like a kitten. It was 6 in the morning, and the city was starting to wake. The twins were 6 years old, their brown hair uncombed for weeks. They wore dirty, torn clothes, shoes so worn their toes poked through, but their brown eyes still shone with that childlike curiosity that even life on the streets couldn't extinguish. "Mel, wake up," Maya whispered, gently shaking her sister. Mel opened her eyes slowly. "I'm hungry." "Me too. Let's look for something to eat." They stood up and folded the piece of cardboard they used as a bed. It was important to keep it, because at night it got cold, and that bit of protection could mean the difference between sleeping or staying awake shivering. They walked through the empty downtown streets. Some shops were opening, but most were still closed. They passed a bakery where the smell of fresh bread made their stomachs growl even louder. "Could we ask for a roll?" Mel asked. "We tried yesterday. The man said he doesn't give anything for free." They kept walking until they reached a street with restaurants. That was where they usually found something in the trash, especially late in the afternoon when the leftover lunch food was thrown out. But it was morning, so the trash bins were empty. "Should we wait?" Mel asked. "That's too long. Let's check the Italian place." Bella Vista was an upscale restaurant on the corner. At night, it was always busy. Fancy cars parked out front, well-dressed people going in and out. Maya and Mel approached the dumpster in the back alley. They rummaged through plastic bags looking for any edible leftovers. "Maya, look!" Mel pointed to something shining among the trash. It was a cell phone. Not very new, but it seemed to work. The screen was cracked, but it still lit up. "Does it still work?" Maya picked it up. She pressed a button and the screen turned on. It had battery. "Wow, look, there's a camera," Mel said excitedly. It was the first time the girls had held a phone in their hands. Back when they lived with their grandmother, she didn't have money for that kind of thing. And since they'd been on the streets, such gadgets were an impossible luxury. "Let me see." Maya fiddled with the buttons until she found the camera. They started taking photos of each other. Mel made funny faces. Maya copied poses she'd seen in magazines tossed in the trash. They laughed for the first time in days. "Look, it also records video." Maya discovered the video function. They were filming themselves playing when they heard voices approaching. Instinctively, they hid behind a large dumpster. It was a reflex they had learned on the streets. Whenever adults came, it was safer to hide. 2 people came out the restaurant's back door, a blonde woman in high heels and a dark-haired man. They spoke quietly, but with the urgency of people who don't want to be overheard. Maya was still holding the phone, which was still recording without her realizing. "Everything's going according to plan," said the woman. "He signed everything without knowing." "Perfect," replied the man. "Just a few more transfers and we're out of here." Maya and Mel looked at each other, not understanding what they meant. But something about their voices was frightening. "Tomorrow we'll do the last transfer," the man said. "Then we just wait for him to get convicted and no one will ever suspect us." "I almost feel sorry for him," the woman said, but she was laughing. 5 years pretending I care about that idiot, and he never suspected a thing." They laughed quietly, like people sharing a dangerous secret. "That's why it worked. He trusts us both blindly." They laughed again and went back inside. Maya and Mel stayed hidden for a few more minutes, not sure what they had heard. They only knew it sounded bad. "Let's get out of here," Maya whispered. They ran from the alley, still holding the phone, and stopped 3 blocks later, out of breath. "Who were those people?" Mel asked. "I don't know. But they were talking about bad stuff." Maya looked at the phone. The screen showed it was still recording. She pressed the button to stop. "You recorded everything?" "I think so." They put the phone in the tattered backpack they carried and went to find a place to spend the day. They found a bench in the main square and sat in the shade of a big tree. During the day, they played with the phone whenever there were no adults around. They discovered simple games, took more photos, explored every function they could understand. In the afternoon, when the sun was less intense, they went back to the restaurant street. This time they were lucky. Bella Vista had thrown out several good leftovers. They found half a chicken sandwich, still crisp fries, even a piece of chocolate cake. It was the best lunch they'd had in weeks. "Thank you, lucky phone," Mel said, kissing the device. Maya giggled. It really did bring luck. In the following days, the phone became their most precious possession, not just for fun, but because somehow it made them feel less alone. When they were afraid at night, they fiddled with it and felt comforted. A week after finding it, they were walking through downtown when they stopped in front of an electronics store. Several televisions in the display window were all tuned to the same news channel. "How cool," Mel said, pointing at the TVs. "It's like a movie theater." They stood there, watching the colorful images. There was a car commercial, then the weather, then the news started. The trial of engineer Asher Donovan continues. He's accused of embezzling more than $8 million from the Horizon Complex housing project. The screen showed a man about 40, brown hair, sad eyes. "Maya," Mel pointed. "He's the guy from the sandwich." Maya looked more carefully. It was him indeed. 3 days before, when they were starving near a bakery, that man had bought them bread and juice. He didn't ask questions or give them a lecture. He just saw they were hungry and helped. "Why is he on TV?" Mel asked. Maya couldn't read well, but she recognized some words on the screen. Court. Trial. "He's in trouble." On TV, they showed him in handcuffs, being taken away by police. He looked frightened and sad. "Seems like it." Maya thought about the phone they'd found, about the strange conversation they'd accidentally recorded, about the adults talking about someone who signed everything without knowing, and about more transfers. Could it be? "Mel, remember those people at the restaurant, the ones talking about bad stuff?" "Yes." "Why?" "We recorded them. They were talking about someone who signed without knowing, and this guy is being accused of something." Mel still didn't fully understand, but Maya was starting to piece things together. It was hard for a 6-year-old to grasp the whole picture, but she had a gut feeling it was important. "We have to go," Maya said suddenly. "Go where?" "Where he is. He needs us. But we don't know where that is." Maya looked back at the TVs. Below the image of the courthouse was an address. She couldn't read every word, but she recognized the street name. It was near the big church. "I know where it is. It's behind the big church." "What are we going to do?" Maya wasn't sure. She just knew that the man who was kind to them was in trouble, and they had something that could be important. "We're going to show the phone to someone. The recording might help him." Mel nodded, still not fully understanding, but trusting her sister. They left the electronics store window and started walking toward the courthouse. The phone was safe in Maya's backpack, along with their few other belongings. As they walked, Maya tried to recall exactly what the adults had said. He signed everything without knowing. Just a few more transfers, and the woman's cruel laughter, saying she felt almost sorry for that idiot who never suspected a thing. Maybe it was important. Maybe it could help the nice man who'd been kind to them. "Maya," Mel tugged on her sleeve, "what if no one believes us? We're just kids." It was a real concern. Adults rarely paid attention to what street kids had to say, especially dirty, ragged ones like them. "But we have the recording," Maya said. "That's proof, right?" "I think so." They kept walking, 2 little girls lost in a big city, unknowingly carrying the key to a good man's innocence. The courthouse was a large, imposing building. Many people out front, news vans, reporters with microphones. It was intimidating. Maya and Mel stopped on the sidewalk across the street, watching the commotion. "Lots of people," Mel whispered. "Yeah, but he's inside, and he needs help." Maya touched the backpack where the phone was stored. Inside that device, found in the trash, was a conversation that might change everything. She didn't fully understand the adult's words, but she knew the difference between a good person and a bad one. The man who'd given them food was good. Those who spoke and laughed cruelly were bad. Good people needed help against bad people. "Come on, Mel. Now, now." The 2 girls crossed the street, heading toward the courthouse with the kind of determination only children have when they know they're doing the right thing. They didn't know they carried the proof that would save Asher Donovan. They didn't know that the phone they found in the trash held Claire and Elijah's entire confession. They didn't know they were the only ones in the world who could reveal the truth. They only knew that a good man was in trouble, and they had something that might help. And for 2 6-year-old girls living on the streets, that was reason enough to be brave. Asher woke at 4 in the morning. Not from the noise of other inmates or the glaring corridor light always on. He woke because his stomach was churning with nerves, as if he'd swallowed broken glass. Today was the day of the verdict. He sat on the bunk and ran his hands through his hair. 2 weeks and 3 days of trial. 24 days of having his life publicly dissected, his reputation shredded piece by piece, his honesty questioned by strangers who looked at him like trash. Breakfast came at 6. Stale bread, coffee that looked like dirty water, and an overripe banana. Asher looked at the tray and his stomach churned more. He couldn't swallow anything, not even water. "Nervous, engineer?" asked Tommy, the inmate in the next cell. He was a man in his 50s, imprisoned for robbery, but had become friendly over the last few weeks. "A bit," Asher replied, trying to smile. "A bit," Tommy laughed. "Man, you're green. Breathe deep. Whatever happens today, at least this agony ends." Asher nodded, but the words were no real comfort. Yes, the agony would end, but it could end with him being sentenced to 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. At 8, the guard came for him. "Donovan, get ready. Court in an hour." Asher put on the suit Claire had brought. It was navy blue, the same one he wore the day he signed the Horizon Complex contract. Back then it felt like a victory uniform. Now it felt like funeral attire. He looked at himself in the cracked cell mirror. The man staring back was a stranger, face too thin, dark circles like craters, hair that had gone partially grey overnight, 40 years old, but looking a decade older in a few weeks. His hands trembled as he tried to fix his tie. 2, 3, 4 tries until he managed a decent knot. "Calm," he murmured to himself. "Whatever happens, happens." But deep down, he knew his life hung on the next few hours. If he was found guilty, he would lose everything. The company, the house, his reputation. Claire would have to sell it all to pay debts. Elijah would be left alone trying to salvage what remained of Donovan and Associates. The ride to the courthouse felt like it both lasted forever and passed in an instant. Asher gazed out the squad car window, watching the city he helped build roll by in a blur. How many projects had he done here? How many families lived in houses he designed? And now everyone thought he was a thief. The crowd outside the courthouse was bigger than in previous days. Journalists, cameras, curious onlookers for the final show. Asher lowered his head getting out of the squad car, but still heard the shouted questions merging into a cacophony. "Mr. Donovan, how do you feel on verdict day? Will you confess if convicted? Any words for the 500 families left high and dry? Do you really believe you'll go free?" Klein, his lawyer, guided him firmly through the crowd. "Ignore everything, look straight ahead and keep walking." Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. The room was packed, people standing in the back. Asher felt hundreds of eyes on him, judging him, condemning him before the judge even spoke. In the front row, Claire sat beside Elijah. She wore an elegant black dress, like she was going to a funeral. Her eyes were puffy and red. When she saw him, she waved discreetly and tried to smile, but it came out crooked and painful. Elijah only gave a brief nod, his face serious, worried, but determined. He had been like that for the past months, promising to uncover the truth, to find the real culprit. At least Asher wasn't alone. Claire and Elijah had stood by him since day one. They were the only people in the world who still believed him. Judge Palmer entered at 9 on the dot. A tall, thin man, completely grey hair, known for tough sentences. Throughout the trial, Asher had tried to read his expressions to see if he believed in his innocence, but the judge's face was always an impenetrable mask. "Order in the courtroom," the bailiff announced. The silence was absolute. Asher could hear his own heartbeat pounding like war drums. "Mr. Asher Donovan, please stand to hear the verdict." Asher stood, legs trembling so hard he had to hold onto the table. Klein stood next to him, hand lightly on Asher's arm in support. Judge Palmer opened a thick folder and adjusted his glasses. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. "This court has carefully examined all evidence presented over these 2 weeks and 3 days of trial. We heard testimony from 23 witnesses, 5 experts, and reviewed more than 200 financial documents." Each word dropped like a stone in Asher's stomach. Evidence against the defendant includes signatures on fund transfer documents, bank transactions not satisfactorily explained, and significant discrepancies between the materials purchased and those actually used in building the Horizon complex. A pause that felt eternal. The defense has argued the possibility of forged documents and manipulated signatures, but failed to present concrete evidence supporting those allegations. Asher closed his eyes. This was the end. He could feel it. Considering the seriousness of the crimes, the substantial amount involved, and the negative impact on the families who depended on the housing project, the judge paused again, looking directly at Asher. This court finds that... Bang! The double doors at the back of the courtroom slammed open. Two security guards tried to stop someone, but two small figures darted between their legs like lightning. "He's innocent. We have the proof." The high-pitched, desperate shouting of children echoed throughout the courtroom. Asher turned, completely confused, having no idea what was happening. Two little girls, about 6, ran down the center aisle as if their lives depended on it. Brown hair flying, dirty, torn clothes, bare feet slapping on the polished marble floor. One held something above her head, an old cell phone. "Stop those kids immediately," the bailiff shouted, gesturing to the guards. But the girls were small, quick, utterly determined. They evaded 3 adults who tried to grab them and reached the front of the judge's bench before anyone could stop them. "We have the proof. He didn't do anything wrong," cried one, the girl holding the cracked phone like a sword. "Good man! Sandwich man!" yelled the other, pointing directly at Asher. "Order! Order in the courtroom!" Judge Palmer banged his gavel repeatedly, his face red with indignation. "Who are these children? How did they get in here?" Asher recognized them. They were the little girls he had bought food for 3 weeks ago, when he was still briefly out on bail. They'd been hungry outside a bakery downtown, and he couldn't just walk by. "Your Honor," Klein said, stepping forward, as shocked as everyone else. "I have no idea who these girls are, but perhaps we should hear what they have to say. They might have relevant information." "This is highly irregular, Your Honor," protested the prosecutor, standing indignantly. "We can't let the trial be interrupted by street children." "We heard the bad people talking," shouted the girl with the phone, ignoring the adults yelling around her. "It's recorded here." "What bad people?" the judge asked, professional curiosity starting to outweigh his irritation at the broken protocol. The girl fumbled nervously with the phone, her small fingers trembling. "We found this in the trash and accidentally kept recording. We got the bad people talking." "Your Honor," Klein said, seizing the opportunity, "I respectfully request that the contents of this device be played. If there is relevant evidence—" "Your Honor, this is absurd," the prosecutor interrupted. "We don't even know where this alleged material came from, who these children are, or if what they say is true." But Judge Palmer was clearly intrigued. Something about the children's desperate urgency made him hesitate. "Bring the device here," he finally ordered. An officer approached the girls. The one holding the phone surrendered it reluctantly, whispering, "Don't break it, please." The officer connected the phone to the courtroom's sound system. The cracked screen showed a video file, 3 minutes and 47 seconds long. "Play the file," ordered the judge. The entire courtroom fell into absolute silence. At first, the audio was confusing. Children's voices playing, childish giggles, street noises, then an abrupt quiet, as if someone was hiding, and then adult voices approaching, crystal clear. "Everything's going according to plan. He signed everything without knowing." A chill ran down Asher's spine. He knew that voice. It was impossible, but he knew it. "Perfect. Just a few more transfers and we'll disappear." The second voice made his blood run cold. It was Elijah, his best friend, his partner, the person he trusted most in the world. "Tomorrow we'll do the last transfer. Then it's just wait for him to get convicted, and nobody will ever suspect us. I almost feel sorry for him. 5 years pretending I care about that idiot, and he never suspected a thing." The third voice made Asher's world collapse. Claire, his wife, the woman who cried for him every night, who said she believed in his innocence, who vowed she would fight for his freedom to the end. "Quiet," cruel laughter echoed over the speakers. "That's why it worked. Hay trusts us both blindly. The courtroom exploded. Murmurs, screams, people standing up. Asher felt his legs give out completely. Klein caught his arm so he wouldn't collapse. Claire was white as a sheet, eyes wide with terror. Elijah tried to stand as if to flee, but two guards were already closing in on him. "Order!" Judge Palmer slammed the gavel with all his might. "I want this recording examined immediately. Summon the audio expert." The court's expert approached with his equipment. 5 minutes of analysis felt like 5 hours. Frequency tests, voice comparison, digital examination. "Your Honor," the expert finally said, "there's no sign of digital manipulation. The vocal frequencies match the known patterns of the individuals in question. The recording is authentic." Judge Palmer slowly turned to Claire and Elijah, who looked like petrified statues. "Ms. Claire Donovan and Mr. Elijah Crane, stand up immediately." They rose like robots and faces drained of color. From the explicit confession recorded on this device, this court has irrefutable evidence of conspiracy to defraud public funds and falsely incriminate the defendant, Asher Donovan. A dramatic pause. Arrest Claire Donovan and Elijah Crane on charges of felony fraud, criminal conspiracy, and perjury. Total chaos erupted in the room. Journalists running, people shouting, guards moving around. Claire was handcuffed, sobbing hysterically, denying everything between sobs. Elijah tried to speak, but his voice was lost in the uproar. Asher dropped into his chair, covering his face with his hands. 15 years of friendship, 5 years of marriage, all a lie. The two people he trusted most in the world had coldly orchestrated his complete destruction. The tears came like a flood, held back for weeks. Tears of overwhelming relief at being free. Tears of deep pain at the brutal betrayal. Tears of endless gratitude for two courageous children who saved his life. When he finally managed to collect himself and look up, he searched for the girls. They were being questioned by social workers, but when they saw him, they ran over. "Good man won't be sad anymore," one asked, her big eyes full of concern. Asher knelt on the courtroom floor and pulled them into a tight hug, not caring about the hundreds of cameras capturing every second. "You," he said, voice choked, "you saved me." The social workers approached, talking about protocols and procedures. Maya and Mel stepped back, suddenly scared by all the commotion around them. "We gotta go," Maya whispered to Mel. Before Asher could say anything else, the two girls ran for the exit, disappearing into the crowd of journalists and onlookers. He stayed there on his knees in the courthouse, watching his saviors slip away. Two abandoned kids, living on their own on the streets with nothing but each other, had given him back his life, his freedom, his dignity. And now they were gone, like apparitions that show up to work miracles and then vanish. It was the kind of miracle he had never believed in. But it had just happened, right in front of him. The key turned in the lock as though it were the first time. Asher pushed the door open slowly, half expecting the house to look different after so many days. But everything was just the same. The furniture in the same places, Claire's perfume still lingering, the usual organized mess. The silence was deafening. He dropped the keys on the entry table and stood in the middle of the living room, unsure what to do. For weeks, he dreamed of this moment, coming home free, innocent, returning to normal life. But now that he was here, everything felt strange and empty. The house had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a modern kitchen Claire loved. They bought the place 5 years ago, right after their wedding. It was the symbol of everything they had built together, the future they planned. What a false life they had lived. He walked over to the living room shelf where they kept framed photos. The first one he picked up was from his college graduation in engineering. He and Elijah side by side, mortarboards on, huge smiles. 20 years ago. They had been young, full of dreams. "We're gonna conquer the world, brother," Elijah had said that day. Asher ran his finger over the frame. How had his best friend become his worst enemy? How could 15 years of friendship turn into a lie? He picked up another photo, the Donovan and Associates ribbon-cutting ceremony. He was cutting the red ribbon at their first office door, Elijah clapping beside him. Claire was there too, as lovely as ever, holding flowers. "I'm so proud of you two," she had said. You're going to be such a success." Had she already been planning his downfall even then? He set the photo back and went to the bedroom. The bed was made, pillows arranged just how Claire always left them. On her nightstand, a few notes she had left behind. He picked up the first one from 2 months ago, back when he still thought he had a wife who loved him. "Honey, I left early to see my sister. Your lunch is in the fridge. Love you. See." Loved him. 5 years pretending she cared about that idiot. That's what she said in the recording. The second note was older, from when they were still dating. "Ash, you're the most wonderful man I've ever known. I can't wait to be your wife and build a beautiful life together. All my love, Claire." Asher sat on the edge of the bed, paper trembling in his hands. Was anything real? The kisses, the embraces, the promises of eternal love? Or had it all been part of a scheme to get his money? He remembered the day he proposed. Romantic dinner at a fancy restaurant, diamond ring. She cried tears of joy, or faked tears of joy. "Yes, 1,000 times yes," she had shouted, kissing him in front of everyone. Lies, all lies. He went to the closet and opened Claire's drawers. Expensive clothes, jewelry, imported perfumes. She always wanted the best of everything, always said she deserved nice things because she worked so hard as a lawyer. But her salary was never enough for that standard of living. He was the one who paid most of the bills, the house, trips, fancy restaurants. And she accepted it all as if it were her right. "Claire said she loved me," he murmured to the empty room, "but she only wanted my money." The truth hurt worse than any physical blow. He returned to the living room and poured himself a whiskey. The first sip burned his throat, but the second was easier. He sat on the couch where they used to watch movies on Sundays. He picked up the cell phone. Dozens of unread messages. Journalists wanting interviews, curious neighbors, some former clients offering support. He deleted them all without reading. There was a framed photo on the coffee table from last Christmas, 3 months ago. He, Claire, and Elijah toasting with champagne, all smiling and happy, like a family. How blind he had been. He thought of the recording the girls found. Elijah and Claire laughing at him, calling him an idiot, celebrating how they had fooled him. 5 years of marriage, 15 years of friendship, all built on lies. How could my partner, my best friend, do this to me? The question echoed through the empty house, unanswered. He recalled all the times Elijah reassured him about the cheap materials on the site. "Relax, brother. I checked everything personally." All the times Asher had signed papers without reading, trusting blindly in his friend, all sorted out. "Just need your signature." And he signed, always signed, because he trusted him. The phone rang. It was Klein, his lawyer. "Asher, how are you?" "Alive. Free, betrayed, but alive. I can only imagine. Want to talk about next steps. We can sue both of them for everything they've done. Later, Klein. Right now, I just want to be alone. I understand, but don't isolate yourself too much, okay? You have real friends too." After he hung up, Asher wondered if that was true. How could he know who his real friends were after discovering the closest people in his life were his worst enemies? He went upstairs to the home office. On the desk were old contracts and blueprints for projects they'd done together, memories of when he believed he had a loyal, honest partner. He picked up a photo from Elijah's graduation as top engineer in their class. Elijah had been best man at Asher's wedding, even cried during his speech. All an act. He put the photo away in a drawer. He didn't want to see it anymore. The sun was setting when he went back downstairs. The house felt bigger and emptier by the hour. It had always been full of life, laughter, conversations. Now it was just a cold space filled with false memories. He didn't feel like shouting. He didn't feel a rage to break things or punch walls. He only felt a profound sadness and a bitter understanding of reality. He had been used for 5 years, for 15 years. The two people he trusted most had betrayed him in the most brutal way. But at least he now knew the truth. At least 2 brave children had appeared in his life to show him who truly cared about justice. 2 little girls with nothing to gain by saving him, who did it anyway. They were the real thing. While Claire and Elijah were only pretty masks hiding rotten hearts, he poured himself another whiskey and toasted alone in the empty living room. "To the truth," he said to the silent walls, "no matter how much it hurts." And it did hurt. It hurt more than anything he'd ever felt. But at least it was real. Asher woke up with a mission. For the first time in weeks, he had a clear purpose. Find the two girls who saved his life. After showering and dressing, he left home determined. He didn't even know their names, but he knew they lived on the streets downtown. That was the place to start. He drove to the area where he first met the girls weeks ago, near the bakery. It was a busy commercial neighborhood during the day, full of shops and restaurants. At night, the entrances and doorways turned into shelter for those with nowhere to sleep. He parked and walked the streets, passing a dozen homeless people, but none were the twins. He asked some if they knew two little girls, but nobody could say. "Sir, aren't you that engineer from TV?" asked a man around 50 says, sitting on a corner with a paper cup. "Yes. I read in the paper that you were proven innocent." "That's good, man. We folks on the street can recognize good people." Asher was touched by that. "Thank you. Do you by any chance know two little twin girls, about 6, who live around here?" The man thought for a moment. "Oh, you mean Maya and Mel?" "Sure, I know them. Poor kids. Been alone since their grandma died." "Maya and Mel," Asher repeated. "Where can I find them?" "They usually hang around the San Juan bakery in the morning on the street behind us. Then they go look for food in the restaurants. At night they sleep by the closed bank's awning, 2 blocks that way." Asher handed the man some money and headed to the bakery. It was a small, simple shop with a few sidewalk tables. He looked around but didn't see the girls. "Excuse me," he asked the counter clerk. "Did you see two little twin girls here today?" "You mean Maya and Mel? They came by this morning, but didn't buy anything. They never do. They just stand there looking at the bread." Asher's heart twisted. "They come by every day. Almost poor things. Sometimes we give them leftover bread from the day before, but the boss doesn't like it much." "What time do they usually come back?" "Late afternoon, around 5. That's when we discard whatever didn't sell." It was 2 in the afternoon. Asher decided to wait. He bought a coffee and sat at one of the sidewalk tables, watching the street. In the next 3 hours, he saw dozens of people go by. Rushing executives, mums with strollers, students carrying heavy backpacks, all with places to be, homes to return to. At 5:10, he spotted them. 2 little girls holding hands, walking slowly down the sidewalk. Tangled brown hair, dirty and torn clothes, bare feet, but it was them. He recognized the bright, clever eyes that had saved him in court. Maya and Mel approached the bakery carefully, as they always did. They peered in the window, then sat by the wall, waiting to see if anything was left over. Asher got up and walked toward them. "Hello, girls." They looked up, alarmed, but when they recognized him, they smiled shyly. "It's the court man," Maya said. "The nice man," Mel added. Asher knelt on the sidewalk to be at their eye level. "You saved my life. I don't even know how to thank you." "We just showed what was on the phone," Maya said, shrugging. "You did much more than that. You gave me back my life." Asher took a deep breath. "I want to repay you. How about starting with a meal? I'd like to get to know you better." The girls exchanged glances. They were clearly hungry, but also wary. Life on the streets had taught them caution with adults. "Just a meal?" Mel asked. "Just a meal. You choose where." Maya pointed to a burger place across the street. It looked simple but clean and welcoming. "They have tasty hamburgers. We've seen them through the window." "Then let's go." They crossed the street together. Asher noticed how people stared at them. A well-dressed man with 2 obviously homeless children. Some looks were curious, some judgmental. They sat at a back table. The girls sat side by side, still a bit intimidated. "Order whatever you like," Asher said, handing them menus. Maya and Mel looked at the options with wide eyes. It was clear they rarely got to choose their food. "Can I get a burger with fries?" Maya asked timidly. "And a chocolate milkshake," Mel added. "Of course, whatever you want." When the waiter came, the girls ordered burgers, fries, milkshakes, and even a slice of pie to share. Asher only asked for coffee. "Aren't you going to eat?" Maya asked, concerned. "I'm not hungry. You two go ahead." As they waited, Asher observed them. Definitely twins, but Maya seemed older and more protective, while Mel was quieter, always looking to her sister before speaking. "Your names are Maya and Mel, right? A man on the street told me." "Yeah," Maya confirmed. "He told you about us." "He did. Said you're well known around here." "We've been on the streets for a long time," Mel said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. When the food arrived, they devoured it with a hunger that broke Asher's heart. But they still made sure to share everything equally, each watching that the other got enough. "Is it good?" Asher asked. "Really good," they both said at once, making him smile. "Maya, Mel," he said gently, "can I ask how you ended up living on the street?" They stopped eating for a moment. Maya wiped her mouth with a napkin and took a deep breath. "Grandma died," she said simply. "Your grandma took care of you." "We always lived on the street with her," Mel explained. "Since we were babies, Grandma said our parents left when we were born." "Your grandma was homeless too?" Asher asked gently. "Yes. She knew the best places for food and where to sleep safely," Maya continued. "She taught us to ask good people for help and how to run from bad people." "And when she died," the twins exchanged a painful look. "It was last winter. She was sick, coughing a lot," Mel said, her voice sad. "We tried to take care of her, but we didn't know how," Maya added. "One morning, she just didn't wake up." Asher's heart clenched. "And you've been alone ever since?" "Yeah. Grandma always said if something happened to her, we should stick together. One would take care of the other. And that's what you do." "We take care of each other," Maya said proudly. "Grandma taught us everything. Where the best food is, where it's dangerous, how to ask for help." "How long have you been alone?" "Since the big cold," Mel said. "It was cold, then hot, and now it's getting cold again." Asher realized they were talking about nearly a year. 2 children, barely 5 or 6 at the time, alone on the streets through 4 seasons. "How do you find food? Where do you sleep?" "We know all the places Grandma showed us," Maya said. "Restaurants that throw out good food, people who give coins, safe places to sleep." "Grandma said you have to know the city like the back of your hand," Mel added. "And we do." "Aren't you afraid?" "We have each other," Mel said, holding Maya's hand. "Grandma said as long as we're together, we can handle anything." The love between them was tangible. Amid all the adversity, they had each other and had built their own little world of mutual protection. "Your grandma was a wise woman," Asher said, "and you two are very brave." "Grandma always said we were special," Maya said, smiling for the first time. "Why are you special?" "Because even though we have nothing, we always help people who need it," Mel explained. "Grandma taught us that. Like when you helped me in court." "Yes, Grandma said good people help good people," Maya nodded. "And you were nice to us that day at the bakery," Mel added. "You gave us bread and juice without us asking." Asher remembered that meeting. It was a few days before his arrest. He saw the girls hungry and simply bought food for them, without a second thought, a small gesture that built a connection. "You gave me everything," he said, his voice cracking. "You gave me my freedom, my dignity, my future. I can't thank you enough." "You already did with this tasty meal," Maya said, smiling. "Grandma used to say good deeds always come back," Mel added. Asher took a deep breath. "Now or never. Can I give you something in return? A home?" The girls stopped eating and looked at him with wide eyes. "A home?" Mel repeated, as if she wasn't sure she heard correctly. "Yes, a real house. Warm beds, daily meals, clean clothes. And you'd stay together. Always together." Maya and Mel exchanged a long, silent look. "But we don't know about houses," Maya said, confused. "We've always lived on the street." "I can teach you. And you can teach me. You know more about courage and loyalty than I do." "Really?" Mel asked, eyes shining. "Really. But only if you want to." "I won't force anything." They looked at each other again, then back at him. "Will there be food every day?" Maya asked. "Every day. And a soft bed, the softest I can find. And we won't be separated? Never. I promise." Maya gripped Mel's hand tighter. "Mel, what do you think?" Mel looked at Asher with those large, serious eyes. "Grandma said when we do something really good, heaven sends us something good in return." Her words struck Asher deeply. "Do you think I'm the good thing heaven sent?" The girls smiled at the same time. "We think so," they said together. Asher felt tears prick his eyes. Two children who'd lost everything, living off scraps, trusting no one, were now willing to trust him. "Then it's settled," he said, holding out his hands. "My heroes can't stay on the streets. Come with me." Maya and Mel took his hands, one on each side. "We're going home," Maya repeated, testing the words. "Our home," Mel corrected, smiling. And for the first time since discovering Claire and Elijah's betrayal, Asher felt complete. Not because he had recovered his old life, but because he was starting a new one, with two daughters sent by heaven to save him, and whom he could now save in return. The first place Asher took Maya and Mel was a children's clothing store at the mall. They walked slowly, hand in hand, wide-eyed at all the bright, colorful displays. "We've never been in a place like this," Maya whispered, staring at the shining storefronts. "It's so big," Mel added, hiding a bit behind her sister. "No need to be scared," Asher said softly. "We're here to pick out new clothes for you." In the store, the sales clerk looked at the girls oddly. It was obvious they came from the streets. Messy hair, dirty, ragged clothes, bare feet. "I need full outfits for these two," Asher said firmly. "Everything from underwear to winter coats." "What sizes?" the clerk asked, still eyeing the children with suspicion. "They're 6. Maya, Mel, pick whatever you like." The girls exchanged looks, overwhelmed by so many options. "Anything?" Maya asked. "Anything you want." It was like a dam bursting. Maya ran to a rack of colorful dresses, while Mel looked at a set of pants and shirts with animal prints. "Can I get this?" Mel asked, holding a pink set with kittens. "You can pick as many as you want." For the next hour, the girls tried on clothes like it was the biggest adventure of their lives. Dresses, pants, shirts, socks, shoes, jackets, all new, fresh-smelling, made just for them. "Look at me." Maya came out of the dressing room wearing a blue dress with white flowers and new white shoes. "You look beautiful," Asher said. And it was true. Clean and well-dressed, Maya looked like a completely different child. Mel came out next in jeans and a yellow shirt with a sun design. "How about me?" "You're both gorgeous, prettiest girls in the world." They beamed. It was the first time anyone had called them pretty. They left the store with 6 bags. Clothes for every occasion, new shoes, coats for the coming winter. The girls carried their own bags proudly. "Now we'll get some other important things," Asher said. In the toy store, their reaction was even stronger. It was like they'd stepped into paradise. "So many toys," Mel murmured, spinning around to see everything. "Pick whatever you want," Asher said. Maya went straight for a blonde doll in a pink dress. "She looks like a princess." Mel was drawn to a giant set of colored pencils. "Can I draw with these?" "You can get anything you want." They chose carefully. Dolls, colored pencils, coloring books, jigsaw toys, some stuffed animals. They didn't grab everything, only what truly caught their eye. "You don't want more?" Asher asked. "We don't need a lot," Maya explained. "Grandma always said the important thing is to have enough, not too much." The wisdom of that 6-year-old child impressed Asher again. When they finally arrived home, it was late afternoon. The girls stood at the entrance, curious about everything. "It's huge," Mel commented. "And pretty," Maya added. "Come on, I want to show you something." Asher led them down the hall to 2 doors side by side. "These will be your rooms." He opened the first door. It had been his home office, but he'd quickly transformed it that afternoon. A twin bed with a pink comforter, soft pillows, a small shelf for books and toys. "This one's mine?" Maya asked in disbelief. "Yes, it's yours." He opened the second door, an identical room, but with a light blue comforter. "And this one's mine," Mel whispered. "Yours, but check this out." Asher showed them a door connecting the 2 rooms. "If you want to be together, just open this door. If you'd rather sleep apart, you can close it." "You decide." The girls ran back and forth between the rooms, testing the beds, touching the soft comforters, opening and closing the connecting door. "These are the softest beds ever," Maya said, flopping down. "And so warm." Mel did the same. Now you can take a nice bath and put on your new clothes. Then we'll have dinner together. Bath time was a whole new adventure. The girls had never seen a bathtub before, never felt hot water from a faucet, never used sweet-smelling shampoo, never had fluffy towels. Asher heard them laughing and talking excitedly for almost an hour. When they emerged, they were unrecognizable. Clean, shiny hair, pink cheeks, wearing new clothes. They looked like two little princesses. "So you look beautiful," Asher said, touched. "And we smell good," Maya giggled. "And we're all clean," Mel added. During dinner, they ate heartily but politely. Their grandmother had taught them good manners, even on the street. "Is it good?" Asher asked. "Very. You're a good cook," Maya praised. "Thanks. Tomorrow you can help me cook if you want." "We can," Mel asked and excited. "Sure, this is your home now." After dinner, they settled in the living room. Asher had bought paper and colored pencils just for this moment. Maya and Mel sat on the big couch, each with a sheet of paper, drawing intently. Asher went to the kitchen to make fresh orange juice for them. When he returned with the glasses, he watched them drawing. Maya was making a house with a family of 3 in front. Mel was drawing colorful flowers and a smiling sun. "Nice drawings," he said, handing over the juice. "Thanks," Maya replied without lifting her eyes. Asher sat in an armchair, just observing. It was amazing how their presence transformed the house. There was life, quiet laughter, and whispered conversations between them. "Asher," Maya said suddenly, looking up. "Yes. Do you have kids?" The question caught him off guard. "No. I was married to Claire, but I'm filing for divorce." "Why are you getting divorced?" Mel asked, curious. "Because I found out she didn't really love me." "She tricked me." "Like we tricked you in court?" Maya asked, confused. No, you saved my life. Claire did the opposite. She tried to destroy it." The girls looked at each other, processing that. "So now you have no family?" Mel asked. "I have you," Asher answered without hesitation. "And we have you," Maya smiled. "Exactly." Mel put down her pencil and got up from the couch, climbing into Asher's lap. "Can I call you Dad?" The question was so natural, so sweet, that Asher felt tears welling up. "Only if you want to." "We do," Maya said, also coming closer. "Then you can call me Dad." "Dad," Mel tried out the word, smiling. "Daddy," Maya tested a variation. "Whatever you prefer to call me." Both nestled against him, Mel on his lap, Maya leaning on the arm of the chair. "Dad," Mel said again, "are we going to live here forever?" "If you want." "We do," they said in unison. They stayed like that for a while, just enjoying the moment. It was the first time in months that Asher felt truly at peace, and the first time in their lives that Maya and Mel felt truly safe. "Should we play something?" Maya suggested. "What do you want to play?" "We don't know many games," Mel admitted. "Then I'll teach you." Asher taught them simple games like rock, paper, scissors. They learned quickly and soon were laughing, competing with each other. "Dad, you lost again," Maya laughed after winning for the 5th time. "You two are too clever," Asher laughed as well. It was amazing how the house had changed. Where there had been silence and sadness, there was now laughter and conversation. Where there was emptiness, now there was life. By 9, the girls were yawning. "I think it's bedtime," Asher said. "Already?" Mel pouted. "We'll play more tomorrow, now you need rest." He walked them to their new rooms. Maya chose to sleep in her own bed, but left the connecting door open so she could talk to Mel. "Good night, Maya," Asher said, kissing her forehead. "Good night, Daddy." In the other room, he tucked Mel in as well. "Good night, Mel." "Daddy," she said, holding his hand, "thank you for giving us a home. Thank you for giving me a family." When Asher went back downstairs, the house was silent again. But it was a different silence, no longer the empty loneliness. It was the comforting quiet of a home where loved ones slept safe and sound. He glanced at the girls' drawings, still scattered on the couch. Maya's drawing showed a house with 3 figures out front, a tall man and 2 little girls holding hands. Over it, in shaky letters, was written, "My Family." Mel's drawing had bright flowers and 3 hearts connected with the names Maya, Mel, and Daddy. Asher smiled, carefully putting the drawings away. They were the first gifts his daughters had given him. His daughters. The words felt so right. Two little girls who had saved his life were now asleep in warm beds, full bellies, happy hearts, and he, who had lost everything he thought he had now gained everything that truly mattered. A real family, built on genuine love, not on lies and self-interest. For the first time in years, Asher's house was filled with life, laughter and hope, and that was worth more than all the money in the world. Asher parked in front of the Donovan and Associates building for the first time in almost 2 months. The building looked smaller than he remembered, more ordinary. Funny how perspective changes when your life is turned upside down. He rode the elevator to the 12th floor, a ride he knew by heart. Each floor reminded him of memories, important meetings, signed contracts, shared dreams with Elijah. Now it all felt like part of another life. When the doors opened, he saw Sandra, the receptionist, organizing some papers at her desk. "Mr. Asher," she exclaimed, standing quickly. "It's so good to see you back." "Hi, Sandra. How are things here?" "Complicated, to be honest. After everything that happened, well, a lot of projects were cancelled. Clients got scared." Asher nodded. "It was expected. Corruption scandals scare away clients, even if you're proven innocent later. How many employees are left?" "About 15. Marcos is still handling the remaining projects. Most of the finance team had to be let go." "I understand. I'll take a look at things." He walked through the office he had helped build. A few empty desks, others with staff who looked at him with relief and curiosity. He greeted each one, thanked them for staying through the crisis. His personal office was exactly as he'd left it. Plants watered by Sandra, papers organized, the city view out the window. But Elijah's chair opposite his desk was empty, likely forever. He sat down and turned on his computer. Dozens of emails, pending contracts, spreadsheets to review. Work was work, and he needed to understand the company's real situation. Late that morning, Marcos came in to report on current projects. "Boss, we've managed to keep 3 projects. The residential building in the north side, the municipal hospital renovation, and a small commercial office." "What about the Horizon complex?" "Completely shut down. City Hall cancelled the contract after the scandal. They're looking for a new firm." Asher sighed. It was inevitable, but still painful. That project had meant so much to him. "All right, Marcos, we'll work with what we have. Are you reopening the company?" "Yes, slowly, but yes, we have a reputation to rebuild." "You can count on me, boss. I always knew you were innocent." After Marcos left, Asher spent the day reviewing old contracts, trying to see how Elijah had managed to embezzle so much money without Asher noticing. It was humiliating to realize how naive he had been. Around noon, there was a knock on his door. "Come in." It was Roberto, the electrical engineer who had worked at the company for 5 years. He came in hesitantly, seeming nervous. "Mr. Asher, can I talk to you?" "Of course, Roberto, have a seat." He perched on the edge of the chair, clearly uncomfortable. "It's about what happened with Mr. Elijah and Miss Claire." Asher frowned. "What about them?" I saw some things, but I was scared to speak up back then." "What kind of things?" Roberto swallowed hard. "You know I often work late, right? Sometimes till 9 or 10 at night, finishing projects." "Yes, you've always been dedicated." "One night, about 6 months ago, I forgot my wallet here. I came back around 11. Thought nobody was here, but I saw lights on in the back storage area." Asher leaned forward. The storage area was where they kept materials for smaller projects. "Then what?" "I went to check if everything was okay. Worried it might be a burglar or something." Roberto paused, clearly embarrassed. "Keep going," Asher said. "Mr. Asher, I saw Claire and Elijah together in the storage area, kissing." The words hit like a thunderbolt. Asher felt his stomach churn, even though he already knew about the betrayal from the recording. "You're sure about what you saw?" "Absolutely. They were very intimate, speaking softly, laughing, hugging. It was obvious it wasn't the first time." "Why didn't you tell me?" Roberto lowered his head. "I was afraid, sir. Mr. Elijah was my boss too. I needed the job, And, well, who'd believe me over them? Asher understood. Who would suspect the perfect wife and the loyal best friend? Anything else? I saw them together other times. Always late. Always hidden. Once she even parked her car a block away and came on foot. They thought no one was watching. How long do you think it was going on? From what I saw, at least a year, maybe more. A year. While Asher worked tirelessly, trusting blindly, building a future, his wife and best friend had been having an affair right under his nose. Roberto, why are you telling me this now? Because I feel guilty. If I'd said something sooner, maybe you wouldn't have gone through all this. Maybe you'd have discovered the scheme sooner. Asher was quiet a moment, absorbing the information. He didn't feel anger or surprise, just a strange sense of relief. The last missing puzzle piece. Mr. Asher? Roberto asked, uneasy at the silence. Thank you for telling me, Roberto. I know it wasn't easy. You're not angry at me? No. I understand why you were afraid. It's not easy accusing your bosses. Roberto looked relieved. Is there anything I can do to help now? Yes. Keep being the competent professional you've always been. We'll rebuild this company together. Yes, sir. After Roberto left, Asher stood alone by the window, staring out. Now he knew everything. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was complete. Claire and Elijah hadn't just stolen his money. They'd mocked his feelings, laughed at his trust. He picked up the phone to call Klein, his lawyer. Klein, it's Asher. I want to speed up the divorce process. Something happened. I just found out the betrayal was deeper than we thought. Claire and Elijah had an affair for at least a year. That complicates their situation and makes ours easier. I'll include adultery in the divorce terms. Do whatever you need, whatever. I just want this over. After hanging up, Asher leaned back in his chair and exhaled. He felt oddly calm. Months ago, discovering the affair would have devastated him. Now it was just another detail in a story whose ending he already knew. The truth was liberating, even when it hurt. He looked at a photo of Maya and Mel on his desk, taken that morning. They were at the park the previous Sunday, smiling at the camera, each holding an ice cream. His daughters, his real family. Claire might have faked love for 5 years. Elijah might have faked friendship for 15. But the love he shared with those girls, and they with him, was real, pure, with no hidden motives. He turned back to the contracts and spreadsheets. He had a business to rebuild, a reputation to restore, a future to construct. It wouldn't be easy, but it was possible. Most importantly, now he knew the whole truth. No more surprises, no more hidden betrayals from those close to him. He grabbed a pen and began making notes, plans for new projects, strategies to regain clients, ideas to show Donovan and Associates was back. Alone this time, but free. Free from lies, betrayal, and false people. Free to be the father Maya and Mel deserved. Free to build something true. Now I know everything, he murmured, jotting down a priority list, and now I can move on. For the first time in months, moving forward not only felt possible, it felt exciting. The future was in his hands. And this time, he knew exactly who stood by his side. 2 brave little girls who had saved him and whom he would save in return every day for the rest of his life. The truth hurt, but it also set him free, and Asher Donovan was finally free. Sunday dawned with a golden sun filtering through the curtains of Asher's bedroom, casting stripes of light on the floor. One of those perfect spring days, when the air is fresh but the sun warms you gently, the kind of day that calls for a picnic in the park. He went down to the kitchen in his pajamas and found Maya and Mel already up, sitting at the table having cereal with milk. Their hair was messy with sleep, still in their nightgowns, but with those morning smiles that brightened any day. "Good morning, Daddy," they said in chorus, raising their spoons in a toast. "Good morning, my princesses. How about that picnic we talked about yesterday?" "Really?" Maya jumped up, nearly spilling her bowl. "Today? The weather's perfect for it," Mel agreed, running to the window. "Look at that pretty sun. Then let's get ready. But first, finish your breakfast. Then you can help me make sandwiches. We'll help with everything." Maya dashed back to the table. For the next hour, the kitchen was a joyful mess. Maya washed fruit, red apples, ripe bananas, sweet grapes, while Mel helped Asher slice bread for the sandwiches, tongue sticking out in deep concentration. "Can I put ketchup on mine?" Maya asked, checking the ingredients. "You can add whatever you want. It's your sandwich." "And mine can be just cheese?" Mel asked. "I don't really like ham." "Sure, whatever you like." They prepared sandwiches for every taste, packing them in a wicker basket Asher had bought for occasions like this. Wrapped sandwiches, chopped fruit, homemade cookies, 3 bottles of cold orange juice, mineral water, plus some coloring books and crayons. "Don't forget the picnic blanket," Maya reminded him, ever the organizer. "Good thinking. Mel, can you grab the blue blanket from the living room closet?" Central Park was only a 10-minute drive. It was a wide space with towering trees providing generous shade, a small lake with ducks, and lush green grass perfect for children to run around. When they arrived, the park already had a pleasant Sunday crowd. Families on the grass, kids playing on the playground, couples strolling along the paths. "Where do we set up camp?" Mel asked, scanning the area, eyes shining. Asher chose a spot under a big tree, far enough from the playground for peace but close enough so they could play later. They carefully spread the blue blanket on the grass. Maya and Mel helped arrange the food, placing each item neatly, treating it like an important mission. "Everything looks so nice," Maya said, admiring the setup. "It looks like a real party," Mel said, clapping her hands. "It is a party," Asher grinned, sitting between them. "Our first official family picnic." They began eating slowly, savoring the moment. The girls chatted about their drawings that week, about a stray orange cat they'd seen, about learning to read harder words. "Dad, I can read elephant now with no help," Mel said proudly. "And I read butterfly all by myself yesterday," Maya added. "You two are getting so smart. Soon you'll be reading entire books." After finishing their sandwiches, Maya glanced at the grass around them. "Dad, can I run on the grass?" "Of course, just don't go too far." The girls took off like whirlwinds. Asher watched them run back and forth, playing tag, rolling on the grass, laughing loudly without a care. Other families in the park smiled, watching them. It was impossible not to, seeing 2 children so genuinely happy. "Dad, come play with us," Mel shouted from a distance, waving. "Let's play tag." Asher got up and jogged after them on the grass. They played for several minutes, with him pretending he almost had them, and them shrieking and running faster. "You're too quick for an old dad like me," he joked, dramatically collapsing onto the grass. They giggled and pounced on him, tickling mercilessly. "You're not old," Maya protested, laughing. "And you can't escape our tickles." Mel joined the attack. No, I surrender," Asher laughed, trying to protect himself. "You win." They returned to the blanket after playing, a bit tired but radiant. Asher poured cold juice, while Maya and Mel got out their coloring books. "I'm going to draw our family at the park," Maya announced. "And I'm drawing our house with a garden," Mel said. They quietly colored, each focused on her artwork. Asher used the moment to snap a few pictures with his new phone, Maya with her tongue poking out in concentration, Mel smiling at her drawing, pencil in hand. "Let me take a photo of both of you together," he said. The girls posed side by side, hugging, big smiles for the camera. "Beautiful," Asher said. "Now one of the 3 of us." He stood between them and snapped a selfie. On the screen, 3 smiling faces, his in the middle, Maya and Mel on either side, forming a constellation of happiness. "Perfect," he said, showing them. "Can we print it and put it on the fridge?" Mel asked. "Of course, let's make a family album." An older woman walked by and smiled at them. "What a lovely family you have. Your daughters are adorable." "Thank you," Asher replied, chest swelling with pride. "Are they twins?" she asked. "Yes, Maya and Mel. They're lucky to have such a caring father." After the woman left, Maya looked at Asher thoughtfully. "Dad, she said we're your daughters." "You are." "But," Maya hesitated, "can we call you Dad for real?" "Officially?" He thought it was already settled. "Why do you ask?" "Because we weren't born from you," Mel explained. "We don't have your blood." Asher knelt on the blanket to be eye level with them. "Listen carefully. Family isn't just blood. Family is loving each other every day, caring for each other. being there for each other. Family is wanting the best for each other always. The girls listened intently. "Do you care about me?" he asked. "A lot," they both replied. "And I care about you. That makes us a real family. No need to ask. You're already my daughters." Maya and Mel lit up. "So you're our real dad," Maya confirmed. "I'm really your dad." "And we're really your daughters?" Mel asked. "You're truly my daughters." They flung themselves into his arms, giving him a tight hug. "We love you so much, Dad," Maya whispered. "I love you too, more than all the stars in the sky." They stayed there, hugging, in a perfect moment. Around them, the park went on, families playing, children running, birds singing. But on that blanket, time stood still to celebrate love. As evening approached, painting the sky in golden tones, they started packing up. "Do we have to go?" Mel pouted. "We can come again," Asher promised, "whenever you want." "Every Sunday?" Maya asked excitedly. "If you like, every Sunday." "It can be our tradition." On the drive home, the basket nearly empty and the girls happily chatting in the back seat, Asher thought about how his life had transformed. 6 months ago, he thought he had everything: a thriving business, a happy marriage, a loyal best friend. Then he discovered it was all a lie built on betrayal. Now he had less in material terms. The company was slowly rebuilding. He lived in a house haunted by memories of a false wife, and he'd lost his naive trust. But he had Maya and Mel, and they were real. Their love was genuine, pure, with no ulterior motives. The family they had formed was based on genuine care, not obligation. When they arrived, the girls dashed off to stick their new drawings on the wall. Asher put away the picnic things. In the basket, there were leftover fruit, coloring books, and 3 empty juice bottles, reminders of a perfect family day. He heard the girls laughing in their room, discussing where to hang each drawing, recounting the day, planning for the next Sunday. Asher sat on the couch looking around. The house felt different, full of children's toys, kids' books on the shelves, their pictures everywhere like little suns. "The truth destroyed me," he murmured, thinking of Claire and Elijah. "But they rebuilt me." Learning the betrayal had crushed everything he believed about his life. But Maya and Mel had helped him build something new, something better, something real. "They're my new family," he continued, hearing their laughter, "and I'm never alone again." The future didn't just look hopeful, it looked exciting. There would be more picnics, more drawings on the walls, more happy laughter filling the house. There would be genuine love every day. And that was more precious than anything he'd lost. Asher smiled, got up, and went to help the girls hang their drawings at just the right height. After all, that's what dads do. And he was a dad now. Dad to 2 little heroes who saved his life, and now filled his days with pure love forever. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.